Welcome to Storm Tracker, your eye on the storm of your Carolina Hurricanes, and your home for the best insight and analysis to keep you totally informed on what's happening with the Canes. Whether it's the latest news on the ice or off the ice, we've got you covered. Now let's begin. Here's your host, Tom Ray.
Well, December was another great month for Carolina Hurricanes prospects. Justin Robida, Justin Poirier, and Bradley Nadeau led the pack again, with goaltenders Ruslan Kazayev and Jakub Vondras also standing out. Joining me as always to discuss the top 5 prospects of the month from Canes Prospects, Nick Bass. Howdy, Nick.
Hello.
Hey, Nick. Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday season.
It wasn't horrible.
Okay, so that's great. Well, I hope you were fortunate in getting family together and spending some time with friends as well. I know you're busy with your school as usual, so it's great to have you on and joining us again. So let's get started. To kick off the top 5 prospects of the month, at number 5, interestingly enough, it's Ruslan Kazayev. Now, Kazayev currently playing with the Greensboro Gargoyles. And of course, he started the season, he was in Chicago. And then when the Hurricanes were able to pick up goaltender Caden Primo from Toronto and waivers, of course, they had to move Kazayev back to Greensboro. Darren York said something interesting when he was drafted. He said he's incredibly powerful and balanced. Our goalie coaches were just so impressed with that balance in combination with that power. So they really thought this guy had some great things. Of course, he's a huge goaltender, checking in at 6'4" and in 200 pounds. So he's a big guy. What did you see from Ruslan Kazayev in December?
The biggest thing to me was that the technical aspects of his game that needed some shoring up have gotten a lot better over the past calendar year. That was the thing that was kind of holding him back because everybody knows the athleticism that he has. But now that the technical aspects are sort of rounding out into frame and he's making the routine saves and not giving up egregious rebounds all the time, and he's still getting out of position a lot, but that's just going to probably be his game. He is getting better at kind of learning when to rein it in and stuff like that. But it was just a very solid month for Ruslan, and I hope he continues it.
Now, you had something called the Ruslan is Coming in your recent article. What was that about?
It's a spectacular question because I'm going to be real. I don't. Honestly, not that I don't remember writing it, but I had not looked back on it in a minute because it has been a little bit since I wrote it. I want to double check and make sure because I might have. Oh, it was supposed to be like Paul Revere, coming in on the horse and saying that, but
like the Russians are coming or whatever the case is. Yes,
yeah,
well, that's great. His numbers are starting to look pretty good. Of course, his numbers in December were sensational. 4 games played, .932 save percentage, 2 goals against average. Great to see it. I'm a big fan of Ruslan, of course, and we've seen him at some of the development camps and also some of the prospect showcases. So he's a guy we're going to keep an eye on for sure. So let's move to number 4. One of the guys I've really been excited about, and I've been talking a little bit about this gentleman with Andrew Rinaldi on the Chicago Wolves side, and that's Justin Robida. Now, Robida has been on a tear, as you know. He's been smoking hot, and he's a guy that, again, drafted later. He was 147th in 2021, checks in at 5'8" and 180 pounds. But here's a guy that, you know, he's got 15 goals in his first 30 games, but I know December was a big month for him. So what did you see from Justin Robida?
Yeah, so Robida is just I think I've said it a couple times. At this point, he's a full-fledged NHL player. His skill set is very good for in the AHL right now, but I mean, he could probably be a full-time NHL player right now, and it probably wouldn't look out of place. The issue is people are going to just hate that he's 5'8" or 5'9". Pretty sure it's
Exactly.
5'8", but it's one of those things where if he's 4 inches taller and is listed at maybe 5'11" or 6 feet, he probably has 100 NHL games under his belt at this point. It's just very unfortunate, but it shouldn't be a detractor because, again, his game is so well-rounded because he can do anything the coach needs him to do. He's been able to do, he's worked as a right winger, but he's also been taking a lot of faceoffs. He does penalty kill. He's one of the Wolves' most important penalty killers. He does power play work, either in the bumper, on the wing. He does everything you could ask for, and he's just very good in that role. And again, should be an NHLer by now. It's just unfortunate the height the way it is, but it shouldn't be a big detractor.
Well, the interesting thing is, of course, he's been playing a lot of right wing this year, alongside Ryan Suzuki and, of course, Bradley Nadeau at different points. So that's been an outstanding line, and great to see it. I agree with you. I think the challenge he has, of course, the Canes are smallish on the wing side with the parent club, and I think it's going to be a challenge for him. But I think he's ready as well. I've been really enjoying his game, and of late, he has just been smoking hot. So it's great to see that from Justin Robida. Okay, number 3 was someone you talked about last month in the honorable mentions, and that was Jakub Vondras. Now, we knew a little bit about Vondras because he had played junior hockey in Canada a few years ago with the Sudbury Wolves, played quite well. Then he went back to Czech, and he's been playing over there, and I guess he's in the Czechia 2 league right now with Pardubice. What are you seeing with Jakub Vondras?
So the biggest thing for me is the year-over-year growth has just been really, really good. So going from Sudbury to he played Pardubice B last year, and it was a struggle at times, but now he's turned into a very reliable goalie for them. He's played in, I think, the same amount of games now, and his save percentage and goals against average are some of the tops in the league, and it's not a junior league. It's a pro league. He's one of the youngest goalies there, and he's showing that he probably, might get, I would think, another look eventually, especially I said it recently, but the Canes only have Primo for this year. They only have Mistikov for 1 year. They only have Nikita Kwap for 1 year. Yes. So, I wouldn't hate seeing them give Jakub Vondras a North American opportunity going into next year because, again, the year-over-year growth has been really good, and so far in a pro league, he's shown that he has a lot of qualities that you like, and he's another one of those big, tall, athletic goalies that the Canes have really had a fondness of drafting, so I'd be interested to see what happens with him after this year.
Well, he is, and checking in at 6'4", as you rightfully say, and he was in the 6th round, 171st in 2022. But here's what Darren York said, right in line with what you're saying as well, Nick. He said, incredibly smart goalie, lots of little shoulder checks and being able to recognize side-to-side plays, and is athletic and the power to get across. So it's somebody we're excited to bring into our organization. So he's a guy that can really move around the net. He can see the ice well. And I think, obviously, Darren York really was excited about him. I'd love to see him back in North America as well. I think that's next for him. So it's great stuff. Speaking about North America, another gentleman that we get to talk about a lot because he plays so darn well and has been outstanding again this year, and that's Justin Poirier coming in at number 2. Now, Poirier, of course, playing with Maine. He's been off to an outstanding start in his college career. You might remember he was Rookie of the Month in Hockey East in October, scored a hat trick in 1 game. And he's doing well. Right now, he's got 17 goals, 11 assists for 28 points. He's 9th in points in the NCAA, and he's tied for 3rd in goals. What can you tell us about Justin Poirier?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me going into this year was always going to be how can you translate the skill set that made him a successful Q player to the college ranks, and so far it's looked good. He's had some struggles against bigger teams, like this past weekend against Providence. Maine as a whole just struggled, and I don't know. I people have always asked, like, hey, you think this guy's going to sign? And I was on the fence about Poirier, and I still am. But there's a lot more. I think there's more development that I would like to see out of him. And I'm not saying that he should stay in college or he is going to stay in college. But there's a lot to like. Do not get me wrong. He's one of the best shooters in all of college hockey currently. He's one of the, I would say, he's definitely up there for probably one of, if not the best freshmen in college hockey right now, with the guys like Porter Martone and Vaclav Nestershil. Like, he's been outstanding in that regard. I just want to see him be a little bit more consistent against like top tier competition before like giving a full-fledged like, yes, I think he should, or no, I think he shouldn't. But there's a ton to like about Justin Poirier, and so far the skill set has translated. I just want to see it happen a little bit more consistently. But December was really good because he was also named prospect or player of the month, rookie of the month, whatever it was, for Hockey East in December as well.
Okay, so he's definitely getting the accolades. Again, a smaller player. Any concerns with that? He checks in at 5'8". So any concerns with the size question when we look at pro possibilities for you?
I think you're always going to have some concerns about it because it's just so rare to see 5'8" players make it to the NHL unless they have a standout attribute. Luckily for a guy like Justin Poirier, he does have a standout attribute, and that is his shot. His release is downright ridiculous. So it's one of those things where I am a little worried about it. I'm always going to be worried about shorter players, but he has standout attributes, and it's not like he's terrified of going into board battles and everything like that. He's perfectly fine handling physicality. It's just, again, he is 5'8", so people are going to be concerned about it no matter what.
Well, I think, again, some time to round out his game with Maine, of course, and everywhere he's been, he's just been a tremendous scorer. He did that in the Q last year, and of course he's doing it again this year with Maine, so it's outstanding stuff. Now, number one, no big surprise. He's always in the mix of the top 5 prospects these days, and that's, of course, Bradley Nadeau. Now, Nadeau had a tremendous December. As we know, he was player of the week in the AHL, the week ending December 7th. What are we seeing with Bradley Nadeau right now?
I mean, I was going to really quickly look it up just to see how many under 21 players or just 20-year-old players are at a point per game or higher pace in the AHL, because it is something that does not happen that often unless you have a player of the kind that Bradley Nadeau is. And it's very not annoying, but it's one of those things that gets me a little not annoyed, but he has shown that he can hang at the NHL level multiple times at this point. He showed it last year. He showed it this year. And it's one of those things where I would love to see him continue it, but I'm not going to complain when there are still some struggles in his game. 5-on-5 play is kind of the big one to me right now, but it has been getting better. It's just a lot. It's very rare to have these guys that are 21, 20 and under that just go and not dominate, but have point per game paces at these levels. And I definitely think Nadeau is one of those guys that should be in line for an NHL spot. And it might be a hard truth or a harder pill to swallow if the Canes do make a move, just because he is having this big season. So he's probably going to be an attractive trade chip.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because, certainly I've been in many, many discussions with folks on X and other platforms, and looking at any of these top players, they're going to be looking for a top prospect from the Hurricanes, and certainly Nadeau is one of those guys. And the Canes are so flush on the wing right now. That's a bit of a challenge, trying to fit him in there. One of the things that's frustrated me, I don't know about you, but when he's gone up to the Canes, he's ended up in the fourth line. And that's not really using the talents that I think this man really has. Thoughts?
It's very dumb to have a guy who is a offensive spark plug be on your fourth line with guys like Mark Jankowski and Eric Robinson. Nothing disrespecting against those guys, but Bradley Nadeau is a genuinely good top 6 offensive talent. Yes. And power play 2, the sporadic minutes they get, and fourth line where he ends up with 10, 11 minutes a night, I don't see how that benefits him a ton. I mean, obviously you like seeing him at the NHL level, but I'd like to see him get a little bit more of an opportunity, especially when the team has some struggles scoring, as we all have seen for the past however many years.
And I mean, he's a natural scorer, as we know, and we've seen him do that at all levels. So that's nothing new for Bradley. Now called the Show, which is interesting. I've heard that a number of times. They call Bradley the Show, so that's kind of cool. And I think he's a guy, again, that he had a big December. He had 5 goals and 4 assists in 8 games. So he's definitely trending the right way. I hope he stays with the Canes and plays with the Canes, certainly in the next year or two. I'll be disappointed if he's packaged up in one of these deals, so we'll have to wait and see. But I'm sure as we get to the deadline, his name is going to pop up frequently. So he's definitely having an outstanding season again. He popped 32 goals last year, and I think he's probably going to push towards that again this year. Okay, so that's the top 5. Let's talk about some honorable mentions and some folks that I know you have some very strong interest in. We had some Russians this month, which is kind of fun. And we have Fyodor Avramov kicking it off. He's a big winger, definitely drafted 188th in 24. So many of these players drafted late. There in New York said, yeah, he can shoot. He has a massive shot that he's able to get off and beat goalies clean from distance. So he's a guy that can really fire the puck. What are you seeing with Fyodor Avramov?
I mean, I just need to stop seeing him bounce around from league to league because it gets very annoying and it messes with a player's development, and especially for a 20-year-old. It's not. I mean, I want him to stay in the VHL where he's currently a point per game, and he's shown that that's probably the level he needs to be at to have proper development because he'll get good playing time, he'll get good situational playing time, and it's probably the level of competition he needs. Going to the KHL and getting minimum time, not good. Going to the MHL and playing a lot, sure, that's fine. But at that same point, I want to see him just get constantly challenged in situations where I think he'll have the most development, and that'll be the VHL. But so far in the VHL, he has looked pretty solid. So I hope he stays there and continues that.
Well, it's interesting when you talk about these different leagues, and he's played in all 3 this year. So that's kind of an interesting scenario, as you say, Nick. He is bouncing around. He's playing with Orsk right now in the VHL. Now, that would be similar to the American Hockey League. For those trying to see where the VHL fits, the MHL would be more like junior hockey, and of course the KHL is their top league. So again, hopefully he can get some time. He's a big young player that I guess he's got some strong offensive attributes, and we'll look forward to see what he can do with that. Next up, we've talked about previously as well, and somebody I'm very excited about and have been for some time since the Canes drafted him this year. And that's Philip Ekberg. Now, Ekberg was drafted 221st out of 224 players. So we remember talking about that, and that's quite the story. And here he is, really playing some outstanding hockey for the Ottawa 67s in the OHL. Darren York said this about Philip Ekberg when he was drafted. He said he got off to a slow start last year. He was battling an illness in Ottawa. So some of the games at the very beginning of the year, he wasn't able to play the entire game. It was something that got a little bit undiagnosed. Once he was able to manage it, his season took off, culminating with leading Sweden at the under-18 tournament. He's a guy that can score off the rush. He's got a dangerous shot, but at the same time can make you miss with his skills. So some very, very strong words for Ekberg. Again, a smaller player, but a guy that's got immense skill. What have you been seeing with him so far?
Yeah, it's always just going to be the Canadian junior tax right now, just because it's easier to score in those leagues comparatively to some of the other leagues that I get to watch for prospects. But Ekberg's been good. He's one of Ottawa's most consistent players offensively, and it's not like Ottawa desperately needs it, but he has been very good. The shooting has been evident so far. He was riding a nice little goal streak. He's looked good so far. I don't really have anything that I would like to see him work on right now. He just needs to continue producing.
Well, it's interesting. I remember when the draft was going on, and there were some of us watching, we had kind of been aware of some of the fine play of Ekberg previously going into the draft, and he just kept slipping. And what do you think the reason was? Why do you think he fell so far down?
His height started with a 5.
Okay.
It's one of those things where the NHL is trying to shift to a ton of tall players where, it can work, but you're also seeing guys get drafted who are in their, second OHL season and they have maybe 2 or 3 points, but they're 6'3" or 6'4", so they have to be good. So yeah. I think that's a big reason why Ekberg fell. Personally. Yeah,
and so far, of course, he's almost a point a game. As you said, he's playing extremely well. He's got 15 goals in 32 games, so he's off to a great start for the 67s. And that's a great program as well in the Ontario Junior League. The 67s have delivered a lot of great players to the National Hockey League, so he's in a good situation there as well. So you go from smaller to big, and we're back to one of these hulking defensemen again, and we talk about them frequently. Another Russian playing with Dynamo Moscow in the MHL right now, and that's Kurbin Limitov. Now, Limitov, again, checking in at 6'4", just under 200 pounds. What are you seeing with Kurbin?
He's incredibly fun to watch just because he's such a dynamic skater for his size. The offensive traits are starting to show a little bit more. I think it's really worked out for Dynamo Moscow of pairing Timur Cole and Kurbin Limitov together from now on, because that is a pair that can play, 23 or more minutes a night, and they do consistently. And so far, it's been working out really well. And Kurbin has been a big part because Timur Cole is allowed to be a little bit more creative offensively, which is something that he has been getting a lot better at. So Kurbin is allowed to be this defensive anchor, and it's worked very well so far.
Well, and I see it seems like readily you're popping something up on Timur Cole getting more points. So it's obviously it's working well. And again, Darren York said something very similar to what you said as well, Nick. And he said a strong skater with great reach. They were quite impressed with him. And they said, boy, when we can pick up players like Limitov, we've got to move up and grab them. So they actually had a deal that actually moved them up so they could get him. So definitely another one of these young defensemen that can skate, can do it all, and we'll watch him closely for sure. Now, someone I've liked for a long time, we haven't really talked about him before. We've talked about him briefly, I think, in passing, is Timur Mukanov. Now, Mukanov was someone I was really excited about. He was drafted 163rd in 2023, a smaller guy, again, checking in at 5'9", 185, but you look at that, drafted at 163, but Central Scouting Europe had him at 27, McKean's had him at 98, Dauber had him at 46, and Elite Prospects at 34. I mean, this guy was really rated highly going into that draft. In fact, some folks, as you can see, thought he was going to be a second rounder, and he slipped way back. What are you seeing with Timur Mukanov?
So in December, he bounced around a lot of the leagues. He wasn't getting a lot of consistent playing time with Severstal, so he went to the MHL side first and then went to the VHL. I think not that he's like regressed in any sort of way, but I do think the VHL time that he is getting right now is probably the best for him, just because if you're not getting consistent playing time at the KHL level, let him go to the VHL and kind of keep working on the things that'll make him a more complete player. And so far it's looked okay. I just think that, they made the right decision in just moving him down. So, I mean, he's another small skilled guy. He's 5'9", so he's a good skater. He's good with the puck on his stick. It's just the other aspects of his game that if they do get rounded out, I'd be interested in.
Well, it's interesting because Darren York said he's hardworking, as good as he is competitively. He's just as good offensively. Probably slipped a little bit in the draft because of his size, which isn't entirely fair to him because of how hard he works. So, again, the Canes taking shots at players later in the draft. Boy, we talked about several today that were well down in the draft, but interesting players. And, who knows? If they get a chance to come to North America, maybe we'll have some fun with that. So that wraps up the honorable mentions. I wanted to bring up something interesting that I've seen you've been talking about lately as well, Nick, and that's players that look like they're going to sign elsewhere or stay elsewhere and not come over to the Canes. One of them was Simon Forsmark, I saw recently. Why don't you talk about that for a minute? Some of the players that we may not see that look like they're going to extend elsewhere.
So, Simon Forsmark is, I would say, because they lose his rights on June 1st, 2026. Right. So I would assume he's not coming over since he is signed for the next 3-4 years in Sweden. Oscar Voulay, they still have his rights for a little bit longer, but he signed an extension and he will stay in Sweden until 28, and he'll be 23 by the time, I believe. And then the only other player that they would lose rights to right now is Jakub Vondras on June 1st, 2026. And I mentioned it earlier, but I do wonder if his play this year might influence a decision on his future because he's been really good so far.
And on the same kind of vein, an interesting announcement this week, which was that Cam Abbott is heading over to Farjastat. So this is interesting. And remaining part of the Canes organization. Any thoughts on this move?
I think it's perfectly fine. He's after getting moved out of the head coaching role in Chicago, he ended up working as a scout for a little bit. And I think Corey had it from Tulski that it was just, he had the opportunity to go back to Sweden and continue his coaching career. And that's something he wanted to do. And the Hurricanes didn't want to stand in the way of that. So he's still with the team and he's still working as a scout. But at that same point, he's just going to be coaching Farjestad, which is really cool. And I don't know if he'll go back to Karlskoga, but as long as he stays up with Farjestad, which he has so far, he'll be coaching a Hurricanes draft pick in Noel Franzen.
Okay. And we've talked about Noah Franzen before. He's another one of the defensemen that's certainly on the radar for us because he's been playing very, very well in Sweden. So again, another, and he's been there for a while too. How old is Franzen now?
I believe he is 20. I don't think he's older than 21.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about him for the last year or two. So he's definitely, and he's been playing in the SHL, which is the top league in Sweden as well. So that's good news. Okay. Just wrapping up, any other players that you wanted to mention in terms of this December, or any other guys that jumped out at you?
Not really December. If I'm looking forward to next month, I'm extremely intrigued about what Ivan Ryabkin's going to do in the very short amount of time this month in the QMJHL. He'll make his debut Friday. Right. So I'm very interested to see what he does there. I fully expect him to basically dominate the league physically, and I think the skill is going to show through a lot more while he's getting more playing time. So I'm interested there. Noel Franzen, if he stays with Farjestad or if he goes down back to Karlskoga, because I'm not 100% sure of the transfer situation there because I'm not well versed in the Swedish Hockey League rules as a whole. Other than that, I'm interested to see, guys like Serrato and Poirier kind of continue what they're doing in college. And I'm really interested in seeing what the Dynamo Moscow boys can do. And I guess also Andrei Krutov to a certain extent, because but he's now with a different KHL team. So I'm interested to see how that's going to work.
So how did you think Charlie Serrato played in December? Any thoughts on that?
I thought he was good. Penn State hadn't played a game since November, and then his first game was in a month in a completely different country with a completely different roster at the Spengler Cup. But I also thought he did very well at the Spengler Cup. I know the stats aren't going to blow people away because 2 points in 4 games isn't great, but I thought he was a good job. He did a very good job stabilizing the second line center position for that team and it's also important to note that this is a group of college kids who were going up against full-blown professional teams from Europe. So I was very impressed with how he handled himself, both physically and with the other aspects of the game. I thought he was very solid on the power play. He had a really, really nice goal from the wing that I thought, it looked really nice. He did a good job at 5-on-5. I didn't get face-off stats from there because they didn't track him, but he also was a penalty killer for them as well. So I thought this was a very good showcase of what Serrato can be against professionals, and I thought he knocked it out of the park for a 20-year-old.
That's really something. And what are you thinking at this stage? What are you thinking about the end of this season and going into next? Do you think he'll remain with Penn State, or do you think he's going to find a way to the Hurricanes?
My personal opinion is that I don't see, if Penn State goes far enough in the playoffs, I don't see a reason for him to stay in college any longer just because he's had good production for 2 years now. He's been one of their most important players for 2 years now. So if they go pretty far in the playoff, I think I would not be shocked if he got a NHL debut at the end of this year in like 81 or 82, and then he'll play with Chicago going forward, and he'd be a important piece for the Chicago Wolves after.
Yeah, that's exciting, and I think clearly the Canes looking for some depth at center ice, and he's a guy that's starting to look like he could be part of their center future for sure. So that's great. Well, okay, Nick, as always, great fun talking Canes prospects. I know you've got a lot on your plate coming up, and we'll hope to circle back, of course, at the end of January and talk about some of these players that we've got our eye on for January. And we'll continue to follow closely your work on X. And where else can we find you, Nick?
CanesProspects.com is kind of my big one, I guess, because it's just where I write most of my stuff. So I guess those two are the biggest ones to me.
Cool. Well, we'll make sure that we check those out and ask all the folks to also, if you're looking for any information on Carolina Hurricanes prospects, check out all the work that Nick does, both on X and as well as website. So it's great. Well, okay, Nick, we'll look forward to getting together with you again very, very soon. And of course, we thank all those folks who've been spending time with us today to hear about Canes prospects. If you have questions or comments, please leave those in the comment section down below. If you like this episode, please press the like button, and that would be great. If you would like to be alerted of future episodes of Storm Tracker, please press the subscribe and the bell buttons, and we'll make sure you're made aware as soon as those are available. As always, Nick and I thank you so much for spending time with us, and look forward to getting together with you real soon right here on Storm Tracker.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends for everything with the Canes you need. Storm Tracker.